Hello, scientists. It's May 18th, and I have a new engineering challenge for you this week, and it's all about aviation. I can't wait to see what you do with it. So this week, you'll be making a paper airplane, and you're going to see how much cargo that plane can carry while it glides for 10 feet. So I'm going to show you a picture. The cargo will be coins. You don't have to do it this way. I just want to give you a visual. You can look up your favorite or best ways to make paper airplanes. It can look however you want it to look. The idea is that you will create the airplane. You may want thicker paper instead of like the thin copy paper so that it can carry cargo. You will need tape to tape your coins on because it can only be coins. You will need tape to mark where you set your plane off and where it lands, and then a way to measure, a yardstick, or you'll need measuring tape. You also need a witness. So your plane needs to glide 10 feet, and every time you test it, you're going to put a little more coinage in there because your goal is to get the most amount of money on your airplane with it still being able to fly 10 feet. So maybe you could put 3/4, maybe you could put 6 dimes, maybe you can put a combination of coins. I don't know. And maybe you can check out what the science is behind it. I'd love to find out. I'm going to try this too. Okay. I'm going to be asking you how much money. Maybe there's a prize involved there somewhere. Amelia Earhart is our story this week because she's my hero. And this book is about how people told her she couldn't do it. And she couldn't fly, and girls should not be doing that. But she proved everyone wrong. This is a book by Brad Meltzer. I am Amelia Earhart. When I was little, people told me that girls should wear dresses and play with dolls. They said we shouldn't have unladylike adventures. I did not agree. In fact, when I was 7 years old, my sister and I decided to build our own roller coaster. Oh, she was an engineer from the beginning. In our backyard, we placed 2 planks of wood up against the side of our tool shed. The cab was a wooden packing box with roller skate wheels attached to the bottom. We greased the wood with lard so we'd move super fast. Lard's kind of like buttery grease. Amelia, are you sure this is a good idea? Here's my favorite thing that she says. This isn't a good idea. It's the best idea. Of course, I got to ride first. This was my moment. Here we go in 3, 2. What do you think happens? They're covering their eyes. I still remember the wind in my face and my stomach seemed to sink. I was flying. The crash was loud and noisy and messy, and it certainly wasn't ladylike, but it was awesome. And here comes Grandma. She's saying, Amelia Earhart, take it apart this instant. It was not the last time I would fly. As I got older, I went to many air shows. When I was 23 years old, but still a kid at heart, my dad took me to meet Frank Hawks, a man who would eventually set many of his own flight records. For $10, Hawks agreed to take me on my very first flight. For 10 minutes, we flew through the sky and out over the Pacific Ocean. By the time I was 200 or 300 feet off the ground, I knew one thing. I had to fly. To save for my flying lessons, I worked as a truck driver. That wasn't ladylike either. A stenographer, which is a fancy schmancy word for someone who writes down what people say, and over here she's saying blah, 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 and even a photographer. She had lots of different jobs. She wasn't just a pilot. 6 months after I'd learned to fly, I bought a bright yellow used biplane that I named Canary. Canary is a cool name for a plane, right? This is my instructor, a woman named Netta Schnook. Yeah, that's her real name, Netta Schnook. But here's my secret. I wasn't a natural. I wasn't even the best pilot. I just worked harder than anyone else. And they're saying, that's enough flying for today. She's saying, no, I can do better. Let me do one more flight. Most important, like that day on the roller coaster, I dared to do what so many said could not be done. A girl flying across the Atlantic? Amelia, are you sure this is a good idea? And what does she say? This isn't a good idea. This is the best idea. I became the first woman to fly across the Atlantic, and then the first woman to fly by myself across the Atlantic. Back then, people took boats to get to Europe, sailing for weeks. Planes were still a new thing. In fact, on the day I took off, one magazine ran an article that said women would never, ever be able to fly that far. To do it, I had to fly for, get this, 14 hours and 56 minutes with no rest, no break. Sometimes the sun was so blinding I could barely see where I was going. But I did. In the process, I also broke the record for crossing the ocean in the shortest time, doing it faster than any man or woman ever. Then I broke an altitude record, which is just a fancy schmancy way of saying I went higher than anyone else. How high did I go? About 12 Empire State Buildings straight up, at a time when no woman had ever gone that high. In October 1922, I broke the women's altitude record by rising 14,000 feet. And in July 1930, I set a speed record of over 181 miles per hour. So she was a speed demon too. In my life, I took many flights, and every single time there was someone who said I wouldn't be able to do it. Never let anyone stop you. Whatever your dream is, chase it. Work hard for it. You will find it. It is the best lesson I can give you. I am Amelia Earhart. I know no bounds, and I hope you'll remember that the greatest flight you'll ever take is the one no one has tried before. And here's a quote by her. Never interrupt someone doing what you said couldn't be done. See you next time.